Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wholesale Change. It's the webcast and podcast from Distribution Strategy Group, where we offer thought leadership for wholesale change agents like you. Because let's face it, if you are listening to this show, you probably are a wholesale change agent. My name's Ian Heller. I'll be your co-host today, along with my business partner, Jonathan Bine. Jonathan, how are you today?
I'm well. I think we've probably both had a couple birthdays since we did one of these shows.
I know it's been a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah, good to be back here.
Yeah, it is good to be back. It's good to be back. Good to be working with you. So I have a question of the day, or a word of the day, excuse me. Do you want to know what my word of the day is?
Well, since you're the word guy, yes.
The word of the day is polymath.
Does it involve crackers and parrots?
Polymath want a cracker? No. A polymath is a person who's well educated and brilliant across a number of topics. And the person that I know in my life who's closest to a polymath is you. I mean, think about it. You've got a PhD in computer science in AI. You are a highly talented classical pianist. So you've already got that right brain, left brain thing going, right? And you're, brilliant. It's funny how you do this 2-digit math in your head all the time while the rest of us are scrambling for our calculators or Excel. So anyway, it's just an honor to be working with someone so bright.
Well, Ian, again, I'm the number guy. You're the word guy. And the stuff that comes off of your pen is also polymath worthy. So it's an honor to be working with you.
I think it's Unimath, and with no
Unimath,
math,
okay.
Unimath with no math.
Or semi-math, or I don't know. Yes.
Yeah. So we have a great guest today. We'll introduce him in a minute. So we're delighted to have Kevin Weadick back. Last time we talked to him, he was at Zoro. Now he's at FleetPride. So we'll be talking to him about that transition and what the new challenges are like, and what he's done in his career to earn such a big, terrific, exciting job. But first, we got to pay the bills. So speaking of brilliant stuff that Jonathan has done, he created what is really, honestly, the fastest, easiest, cheapest way. You really do get all three. You know how people say, you want good, faster, or cheap. Is it good, faster, cheap? Is that the three options?
Yeah.
If it's you want good, faster, cheap, then pick any two. But here you get all three. So Jonathan created, it's a net promoter score system for distributors, but it does so much more than that. I mean, this is a screenshot of the console that you get to use if you run if you subscribe to this system. It's very inexpensive, and it gives you incredible importance versus satisfaction ratings across a number of different performance variables. So rather than just getting the NPS score, which Jonathan describes as like getting your temperature taken when you go to the doctor, you get the whole blood panel to see what's driving that score, right? And you can sort data by industry, customer segment, job functions, geography. It's an amazing system. And so if you want to get regular feedback about how you're performing in the marketplace, then you should most definitely email Jonathan at jbine, that's JBEIN, at distributionstrategy.com. Brilliant system. Okay, the show is also brought to you by Enable. Enable is a powerful rebate management platform that provides distributors, manufacturers, and retailers with the tools they need to efficiently handle the rebate programs. Regardless of the complexity or volume of deals, Enable can handle it all. With Enable's user-friendly platform, you have the ability to operate, track, analyze, and optimize your entire rebate management process. And honestly, this is something that most distributors don't do very well. You can strategically utilize your rebates to drive significant profits and fuel business growth. Enable's platform is comprehensive, allowing you to create and manage deals of any type, all in one convenient location. It is also designed to foster collaboration, enabling you to align with other departments within your organization, as well as with your trading partners. What sets Enable apart is its emphasis on control. You have complete control over your data, deciding what information to share internally and externally. This ensures that all departments and trading partners have access to one reliable source of truth. If you are in search of a rebate management platform that can cater to all your needs, look no further than Enable. Discover more by visiting enable.com. So thank you, Enable, for supporting the show. Our next sponsor is White Cup, who sponsors a lot of our content. We really appreciate it. As we talk with Kevin today about distribution sales growth, we'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, White Cup. White Cup CRM and business intelligence software integrates with leading e-commerce platforms to help your team sell more online and offline. Now you can turn browsing into buying by seeing the latest e-commerce activity right within right within White Cup CRM. More importantly, you can act on those insights by sending emails reminding customers to complete a purchase or having more relevant conversations based on their recent orders. We just had a demo of this, Jonathan. It's very impressive.
It is absolutely impressive.
Go to whitecupsolutions.com/DSG. That's whitecupsolutions.com/DSG to see how your team can win more with White Cup CRM, BI, and e-commerce. Last sponsor of the day, but not least, is Epicor. Today's podcast is sponsored by Epicor, a software company that has helped thousands of wholesale distributors for over 50 years to integrate their business functions into one ERP system. Because of their deep expertise in distribution, they understand your world and your unique challenges. Epicor helps companies consolidate systems and processes into one ERP that is ready to use out of the box and allows for long-term growth. If you're interested in new technology, they'd love to chat with you to understand what you're looking for. You can reach out at epicor.com/distribution. That's epicor.com/distribution. Jonathan, anybody who's putting in an ERP should have Epicor on their consideration set. Right?
Absolutely. In the very short part of that list as well.
Yes, that's right. All right, let's welcome back to the show, Mr. Kevin Weadick. Kevin, thank you for reappearing on Wholesale Change. We're delighted to have you.
Thanks for having me, Ian. Thanks for having me, Jonathan. Excited to be here with all of you.
Oh, fantastic. Good. So, gosh, this is quite a background. Why don't you just, I won't leave this slide up forever, but why don't you walk us through your career?
Sure. So I had the great opportunity to be a part of the Grainger family of businesses for a little over 20 years. Started actually in a branch in Madison, Wisconsin after finishing up grad school there. Then worked in Grainger's supply chain in a variety of different roles, and then had the opportunity to go up to Grainger's Canadian business, and so lived in the Toronto area for a few years, working in supply chain and product management, category management. Came back, worked on some things in the US for a couple of years, and then actually we had bought the Grainger business had bought some businesses in Europe, so I had an opportunity to live in the Netherlands and in England, doing a variety of different things. Probably got a little bit of exposure there to pricing, marketing, and some other things in those roles, and then had the great fortune to come back and lead the team at Zoro for about 6 years, which was a ton of fun. Grew the business from a little over 400 million to a little over $1 billion,
Wow.
so that was a ton of fun. Just different type of business than the core kind of Grainger branch-based business. And then, got the opportunity to more recently join FleetPride and lead the team here at FleetPride. And so we're the largest heavy-duty aftermarket parts and service provider in the US. And so we have over 4,200 team members that work every day to make sure that we can keep the country running, and that we can help our customers, typically, fleet service centers, things like that, keep their vehicles on the road and keep goods moving throughout the US economy. So a really great purpose for our team, and a lot of great hard work from our team.
And that is literally what you see as your company's purpose, right? Keep America running.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's pretty, I think you want to have a purpose for an organization. You want your team to feel like they can be engaged in that purpose, and feel like they're contributing not only to the business, but to communities that they live and work in. And so when you have a purpose like ours, I think it makes it a lot easier for the team to really rally behind.
Kevin,
Go ahead, Jonathan.
What's the breakdown between the 4,200 team members, the distribution side and the service side?
So we're probably a little bit different than some businesses, and like our number one selling item is a brake drum. And so you think about a 110-pound item. that goes onto a Class 8, heavy duty vehicle. And so when you look at that, we're from a logistics standpoint, we have over 300 kind of branch and service locations. The majority of our team members are in those locations. We do have 5 distribution centers across the U.S. And we have, probably a little more than 10% of our workforce in those. But the majority of the workforce and team members are actually out in our field serving customers each and every day.
Yeah, it's one of those businesses where the branches are always going to be important, right? Because you have to be where the trucks are, and they're everywhere.
Yeah, critical. And so, and that's where having a strong local footprint, having deep expertise is great, but that's also where, when you think about e-commerce, a lot of our customers are on the move. And so, they don't just want to know where we are in maybe their home base, but they want to know where they are when they're out delivering goods across the country.
So when they were looking for a CEO, you and I talked before this call. I mean, you had this sort of combination of skills, which is unusual, which is, they have this desire for digital transformation. And obviously, having run Zoro, you get that in depth. You have this core supply chain experience because you were in supply chain stuff for Grainger for a long time. But also, Zoro was consistently recognized for having a really strong culture. So those were the sort of the experience items that drove you to be such a good candidate for this role. How are you implementing implementing initiatives around those strengths now? Digital transformation, core supply chain, and culture.
Yep. So I got to join the business, and a lot of those things were well underway. And so I think part of what attracted me to the role, beyond them just finding value in my experience, was that I felt like there was a lot of fit in terms of the strategic direction of the organization. So different B2B tends to be a little bit behind B2C in adopting digital solutions, and a lot of that adoption has to you can be on the leading edge of that adoption, but customers have to want to adopt. And so I think FleetPride had recognized prior to my joining that that was a trend that was going to happen in the heavy duty industry, that people were going to look for e-commerce solutions in ways that they hadn't in the past. And so the company had already begun that journey, in earnest. I think when we think about, supply chain, over the last few years, the company had substantially kind of upgraded the technology and physical footprint of its distribution in order to leverage those. So some of those, skills fit. And then from a culture standpoint, from a purpose standpoint, and then also when we think about having a highly engaged team, there was a lot of fit there. And so I think the things I'm really focused on is how do we make sure that we're a really transparent organization. We want to make sure that all of our team members understand what it is we're trying to accomplish. Actually, had a town hall here locally at our field support center yesterday, jumping into another town hall, right after this. And then tomorrow we have an all team member town hall. And really our goal with all those is to just make sure that the team really understands where we're going, what we're trying to do, and how they fit in that. And so I think from a culture standpoint, like one of the things is really just like build on the success that the team's had, and help kind of accentuate, move those things forward.
Okay, good. So some of the initiatives were underway. The culture sounds like it was headed in the right direction. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how's the reception been? I mean, I know this is a whole different industry, so there's a certain part of, hey, we need to train the boss on the new industry, right? When you get there, how's the reception been from the company?
I think the reception's been great. So I've had a lot of fun. A lot of travel, been out to over 50 of our locations in the first 8 months on the roll. Got into a variety of different markets. So had a chance now to visit all of our distribution centers, 50 plus branches and service centers, and meet with team members, customers, suppliers to really understand and learn. I think everybody's given me some grace and some patience. I am never going to probably know the products that we sell as well as our category management team, or how to serve vehicles as well as they do. But everybody's been, really supportive. I've got a leadership team that's really, steeped in the industry. Mike Harris, our president's been in the heavy duty, industry for 20 plus years. And so we've got a lot of kind of deep experience. And then what I bring is maybe some different perspectives. And so what we try and do is make sure as a leadership team, we have really candid and open conversations about what it is we want to achieve and how do we create clarity for our team on what we want to achieve. And then just how do we execute? How do we move forward?
And there are some significant differences between the products that you sold at Zoro and how you do that on e-commerce. You mentioned the 110-pound brake part, right?
Yeah, really different.
So when it comes to embedding digital solutions into the company, I mean, you have a whole unique set of challenges that for someone who spent his career in logistics and e-commerce must be really interesting.
But I did notice on your homepage there was
Yep.
the Milwaukee tools in your carousel. So you do have that in common with the Zoro Grainger days, right?
So absolutely. So Milwaukee's been a great partner. They've actually been doing a great job across a bunch of different industries. So what I would say is there's a couple really big differences, say, between Zoro and FleetPride. So the most obvious is the branch-based and service-based model, which is really different. And then also we have a sales organization that engages with customers. And so the nature of the customer at FleetPride is probably some are very similar in that they're very small businesses, and then some are actually very, very large, transportation companies. And so we kind of run the gamut, if you will, of customers we kind of sell across all sizes. And so I think there's some pretty big differences, but fundamentally, I think it all goes back to like, why would a customer want a digital solution from any distributor? And I think it's because of the ease that it brings. So if you go to downtown Dallas, we have a location, and within probably a mile, there are 10 competitors. Like, and the historic buying pattern for customers might have been like, I'm going to go to one location, and if they don't have it, I'll just go to the next, and I'll go to the next. Because generally, a lot of the things we're selling, they have an asset that's down. Their vehicle is down. That means that they can't generate revenue. So there's an urgency to getting that part for their vehicle, or it's a repair center that there's an urgency to getting that. Well, now they can look ahead. They can go on to they can use their phone or their website, and they can go ahead and they can check and see what locations we have in the greater Dallas area, where that inventory is available, how quickly they can get it. And so we take a pain point and a friction point away for the customer. And so that's why I think you're seeing different industries adopt at different rates, is their ability to actually use technology to actually solve problems that customers have. And so we're, I think, in the early days. There's certainly, the maturity of adoption and say, for a Zoro-based business or even for a Grainger-based business is, in the industrial distribution space is really different than it is in what we do. But it means it's super exciting. Like we're in a massive market in the U.S. with relatively low share, but we're the largest player. And so that's like an exciting kind of white space, and the adoption curve for digital is only going to go up. And so that creates a lot of excitement for us to how do we lead this space forward and create more value for the customer, and just that, if we solve customer pain points, they'll reward us with more spend.
Yeah, but solving the logistics must be really hard. I mean, not just on terms of where you warehouse the products, but the delivery.
Oh, for sure. And so we actually do a lot of our own delivery.
Okay.
So our delivery fleet would look very different than, Zoro was primarily parcel delivery, did some LTL. We do most of our revenue is either people coming in and picking the product up, or us doing delivery on our own vehicles. And then common carrier from a delivery standpoint, is not the majority. And so that brings with it, different challenges from a how do we create, great experiences to attract the right team members? And then also, how do we keep people safe, and how do we do a great job serving the customer? So, but all exciting problems to have.
Yeah. And another one is how to optimize your sales force, right?
Absolutely. And so I think what we want to do there is like really step back and find, how do we help our customers solve more of their problems, and how do we orient our sales team members to that? And one of the things we've seen from a loyalty standpoint is our most loyal customers tend to be the customers that buy across our aisle. So they buy more categories. So how do we use that knowledge to actually make thoughtful recommendations, whether it's through our sales team, whether it's through e-commerce, whether it's through other marketing vehicles? Like, how do we actually get into the mind space of the customer and help them understand all the different ways that FleetPride can actually help them solve the problems that they have? And those problems might be, how do we help them understand all the different types of service we can provide? Because we're doing a whole bunch of a really fast growing part of our business is actually doing repair service for trailers and trucks. And so how do we help people understand what those things look like and those opportunities? And so even how do we have our sales team members understand the ability to actually sell service to their customer set as well? We've had a lot of success with that, particularly with larger fleets that are really, have a strong desire to have a consistent service provider across multiple geographies.
When you get the service business, is that the follow-on, or is that often the lead? How does that work? Do people start with parts and go to service, other way around? What happens?
I would say, service is a newer part of our business. We've always done some of it, probably dabbled in it, and we've been pretty aggressive from an acquisition standpoint over the past couple of years and actually buying service-oriented businesses. And so with some of our larger accounts, I'd say part of the opportunity, we've historically been a parts sales operation, and now we have the ability to help them from a service standpoint as well. Some of it is we're actually selling to a number of service providers. And so there's an opportunity there to really just further embed from a parts standpoint. And then obviously we have an opportunity as we build service capacity to pull through parts. And we actually have a fairly substantive part of our assortment is our exclusive brands. And so that gives us an opportunity to also think about how we get more scale and leverage those and help introduce the way that can help customers save money as well.
I'm curious, when you think about your time at Zoro to now. So this is a larger company, right? At least in terms of number of employees.
Yeah.
I presume revenue as well.
Yep.
What do you think from your experience at Zoro, and if you want Grainger as well, readied you for this large step up? This is a significant enterprise you're running.
Yeah. So I would say there was probably like a couple things that were really helpful for me, like over the past 20 years. And so one was I said yes to a lot of different things. So I started out in supply chain and then had the opportunity to do a lot of different roles in the organization. And I think that gives you context. You see the business from multiple points of view. And when you see the business from multiple points of view, it allows you to make connections that, if you've kind of led a distribution operation or you've only been in the purchasing side, if you've actually had the ability to see things across the enterprise, I think that provides you a lot of context that's really helpful. I would say the other thing is like Grainger was willing for me to go and probably make some mistakes and learn. And so like they've got a great culture. And I think we tried to do that at Zoro as well. We're certainly focused on that here, which is the odds that you're always going to get everything right on the first go, whether it's a new role, a new leadership opportunity, you're probably going to have to go through some learning. And so being given the opportunity to actually go be curious, learn, stub your toe a bit, find new ways to kind of break through and get problem solved. Like there was an ethos at Grainger and at Zoro that I think was really helpful in my development of letting me, I can tell you, I was much better at leading Zoro the few days before I left than I was at leading Zoro when I first got there. And so part of it is you just go through that curve. And I would say I've been really fortunate. Our prior CEO here at FleetPride is our chair, Mike Duffy. And Mike's been super gracious and helped me think through like how do you manage a board, which is not something that was my responsibility at Zoro, right? That the Grainger board was DG's responsibility, not mine. So not an experience I had. And so it's been great to have a chair who led our business, deeply understands the business, and can be a sounding board for me and can really help me move forward. And then just finding other people that are CEOs in the organization in different organizations and being able to network and learn from others has been really helpful as well.
I was thinking about really the digital aspect at Zoro. So your customers there are self-selected, digitally engaged, right? That's the nature of buying on a marketplace.
Absolutely.
But what are you seeing in your existing customer base about digital engagement, digital readiness? I'm just curious what that looks like as you think about small operator up to enterprise that's got a fleet. What are you seeing in terms of digital readiness in your current customer base and market?
I think it depends on the customer. Large, sophisticated, kind of fleets they're already digitally engaged. Their digital engagement might look different though. We might be looking at more traditional things like EDI punch out, and being able to have a connectivity that allows them to order in a really efficient manner, and so that probably looks more like what large distributors see. And so for us, that feels really similar to what I would have seen in other parts of my experience outside of Zoro. And then I think midsize, it's how do you create a compelling e-commerce experience, and then how do you use you can use marketing from an acquisition standpoint to really introduce yourselves to smaller folks. And what you find is a lot of customers start their journey, even though they know who you are. We have pretty strong brand awareness in our space. People have habits, and so a lot of people start their search journey on Google or Bing, even if they know you. So actually, what I would say is you have this huge opportunity, particularly around introducing categories that people aren't familiar with. You have this huge opportunity, even for your larger accounts, because a lot of the buyers in those accounts start their purchasing journeys today, much the way they do in their personal lives. And so there's a lot of search engine traffic that goes across for the parts we sell at FleetPride, just like it did for Zoro or for other distributors.
Do you know about this company, Find It Parts? Do you know of them?
I do.
I think they're all digital. They're more like your Zoro thing, but in this space, right?
Correct.
So.
Yep. They for me, they feel a lot like Zoro, in that what they're trying to do is essentially connect supply and demand in a way that a more traditional marketplace would.
So, hey, Kevin, we have a question from an old friend, Ron Paulson.
All right.
Kevin, great to see you again. How are you leveraging technology at FleetPride? How do you evaluate what is the priority? And of course, how are you thinking about AI?
AI. All right. That's an interesting one. So here's what I would say. We're leveraging technology across a few different axes. So we've leveraged a lot of technology to help us improve our internal business processes, whether that's in our core supply chain or in the way that our sales team can actually engage with customers. We're about to launch a beta of a new e-commerce platform here in Q1. And so we're really excited about that, because that should give us opportunities to serve customers a lot more effectively. We feel like we have the industry leading e-commerce platform today, and this one really takes it to the next level. So we're really excited around to kind of continue to up our game. In terms of generative AI, I think there's opportunities that everybody should be thinking about. the cost to actually develop software is probably going to change dramatically in the coming years. So whether you're using things like, GitHub's Copilot, or, even like ChatGPT, and some of those, areas, what you find is like the ability to actually leverage that technology to help you, maybe not perfectly, write software, but to make your team more productive and give them a head start towards things is pretty amazing. And then I think, there's going to be a lot of back office process improvement that you can deliver. I think the one area that I'd be pretty hesitant in the near term to leverage kind of those tools, from a maturity standpoint, is around like product and helping customers find it, or I guess, not necessarily finding what they need from a search standpoint, but in some cases, like enriching product information and some of those things. There's still, I think, some, whether people call it hallucination, there's still some challenges. And when you've got a part that's going on to a really big vehicle that's going to go pretty fast down a road, I think we want to make sure from a quality of product information standpoint that that's probably a place where we're going to think about enriching that content really differently.
Yeah.
But I do think one that'll be pretty interesting is, image recognition and things like that for parts identification. We have a challenge that I think most distributors have, which is, and actually a lot of the trades have, which is a lot of the expertise is getting older. The workforce of people in those roles is aging at a way that's a little bit different than the overall population. And so how we can use tools like that to train our team members and bring them up to speed and help them solve customer problems faster is probably a huge area of opportunity as well.
Actually, we have a related question from Bill. He says, with the advent of a virtual avalanche of new technology, how can you give customers confidence that how can you be confident, I guess, that your 4,000 employees won't be lost, I guess, with this new technology? I mean, how do you train them and keep them up to speed?
Yeah, and I think what you need to do is you can you don't necessarily need to put all that technology right in front of the customer. So it's kind of interesting because if you think of like an Excel spreadsheet, it's kind of this blank canvas. And if you think about everything that's ever been developed off an Excel spreadsheet, is pretty interesting. Right. Kind of like in theory runs the back office of a whole bunch of businesses across the US, right? It probably became something people didn't really realize because it is such a blank canvas. And so when I think about like generative, like AI, like it's a pretty blank canvas now. I think what you'll find is a lot of people will put kind of product wrappers around it that actually makes it really easy for your team to engage in. And so I think, you want to be really thoughtful about where you introduce new technology for your team. And a lot of that goes into how do you do really thoughtful product design around that technology? How do you make sure that you're really clear with your team about, what use cases make sense and what use cases don't? But I would actually say like a lot of the places that we intend to introduce technology hopefully makes people's lives easier from a workforce standpoint, as opposed to like complicating it.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been a VP of marketing 4 times for big distributors. And I think about if I had a ChatGPT-like overlay into our ERP and it, knew all of our historical transactions, all of our customer data, all of our product data, then a lot of questions that I had to have marketing analysts go and write, custom scripts for, I could have just said, what are the 200 SKUs most likely to sell on our promotion in November, and tell me the 10,000 customers. Well, I'm just giving a very rough example, but you could test a lot of different scenarios and run a lot of analysis just with plain English questions and let the software behind the scenes go and, figure out how to interface with the different databases.
I totally agree. And so the interesting thing for us as business and most businesses will be, you got to learn those questions by probably doing a lot of that kind of work over the years.
Right. Sure.
And so like, how do you help the team think about, if we make some of the analysis easier, how do you help the team think about what are the right questions to be asking?
Yes.
And like, how do you actually, use that value. So I do think if you have really good data structures, you can create this opportunity for your team to probably get to answers faster than at any point before. But you have to have pretty good data structures, and then you have to know like what are really thoughtful questions to be asking.
Right. Right. What's it been like interfacing with the board instead?
Oh, it's been a lot of
That's
fun.
new.
Yeah, kind of an eclectic group. Some folks with more of an investment background, some folks with a supply chain background, some folks with a consulting kind of strategic consulting background. And so I think they've been really helpful in helping me push my thinking and learn and grow. And so it's been a really exciting kind of set of interactions and experiences for me thus far. So 8 months in.
You're private equity backed, right?
We are private equity backed.
So the private equity folks have said, yeah, let's have a diverse board of outsiders. Is that?
So we have some insiders from the private equity firm, and then we have a number of outsiders as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Sometimes they want to control the sandbox pretty tightly and have.
Yeah, and I think what I've found is they've been great thought partners, and like that's an example of where our managing director at we're owned by American Securities, Will Manuel, like he's been great in putting me in touch with other CEOs in their portfolio to help me learn and grow as an individual as well. And he's also really curious, and sometimes we have portfolio companies that have similar challenges, and it gives us an opportunity to use each other as sounding boards.
Nice.
Hey, Kevin, a lot of people on the call would love to achieve your level of success someday. What would you give as advice to people who are, earlier in their careers and, they want to be a CEO someday? And I know there are different paths to these kinds of positions, but, you've worked with a lot of successful people and you've been very successful yourself. If you could, give a couple minutes of advice on, to people who are early in their career, what would it be?
Sure. I think don't worry so much about going straight up in a functional area. And actually, the earlier you are in your career, probably the easier it is to go across the organization and collect a bunch of different experiences where you can go in and be really curious and learn about how those different disciplines relate to the enterprise more broadly. If you were to go back and look at my career with Grainger, it was probably like, lateral promotion, progressive promotion, lateral, progressive, lateral. So it was a whole bunch of going across as opposed to being really focused on title and trying to go up. And so, I was talking with some friends that, have been at the organization, and have had kind of similar success, and when you look at kind of the common denominator, it was probably like maybe we all started out at roughly the same level, but at different points during our time we were at really different levels. And that was because we were all in a different place collecting a bunch of different experiences, and those experiences created context for us. And then and then I think the other piece of advice is having a little patience, because timing, like there's a certain amount of luck that's involved in careers. So like from a timing standpoint, I happened to be ready to repatriate from living in the UK when the Zoro job came open. I'm pretty sure we got a great job had I repatriated at a different time, but it wouldn't have been the Zoro job. And so there's a little bit of kind of that. And then I think it's like who you work for. Like you want to surround yourself with individuals that are committed to your development. And are willing to, give you the opportunity to learn. And I've been fortunate to have a number of those individuals over the course of my career that, were willing to really, push my thinking and help me learn and grow. And so if you're willing to be curious, if you're willing to focus on like gaining experiences that will give you context as opposed to getting that next title, if you're willing to be kind of opportunistic when the good thing arises and say yes, and if you're willing to to try and push yourself to work with people that will help you learn and grow. I think you might not everybody will always get to this, place, but you'll have a really long and successful career that hopefully will allow you to feel really fulfilled and rewarded.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I really like that answer about working for the right people. I always say your job's no better than your boss. It can be worse, but it cannot be better than your boss. If you have a bad boss, you have a bad job.
So we talk about a lot here with engagement, really wanting to work with the most important people for our team to be engaged are our branch managers, our service managers, and our supervisors in the DC, because people work for people. And people will stay at an organization they might not love if they love their boss, and people will leave an organization they love if they don't like their boss. And
That's
so
right.
for us, it's we have to create this connection at a really kind of local level with our team members if we were going to be successful in having a really highly engaged team.
Jonathan, you want to?
Well, I was thinking, Ian, we had a couple things we wanted to discuss. I think the one you want to discuss, maybe let's flow right into.
Okay. So the topic I want to ask about is how you build a leadership team. Kevin, you've done it, I'm sure, repeatedly in your career, most recently at Zoro and then at FleetPride. And there are different philosophies about how you pick the team, how much of it's a cultural fit versus an expertise fit. Sometimes you aren't sure at first how the team's going to gel. So you have to go through this, forming, storming, norming, performing thing. So when it comes to building a leadership team to report to you, to run an enterprise like FleetPride, what are the principles you follow?
That's a really good question. So I think, a leadership team is kind of uniquely empowered to do a few things for an organization, set the strategy, ensure you have the talent in the team that allows you to achieve your aspirations, and make sure you're executing really successfully. In terms of making sure you have the right talent and that you have the right strategic orientation for your business, and I think you want different perspectives and different points of view. And so you don't want everybody to think the same way. And so having a diverse set of perspectives based on experiences, industries, and others, I think is really helpful. So I have a great relationship with the leadership team here. My CFO, came out of oil and gas. And our HR leader came out of manufacturing. And our general counsel came out of a more traditional legal path, and again, our president came out of heavy duty, and has been with us for a long time. And so I think it's what we want to do is first and foremost is build cohesive team that trusts each other and is willing to actually disagree in the room, and that's where you as a leader want to create an environment where they're willing to disagree with each other with you present. And I think when you find that, when they're willing to be kind of vulnerable and put their ideas out there and push each other and not feel like they're going to be judged, I think you get to a really good place where you can have some really frank and candid discussions about how the business can be successful. And so that diversity of perspective, I think, is really important. And so if you look at the leadership team that I had at Zoro too, I think you'd see the same things. Everybody didn't come from the same industry background. People came from really different backgrounds, and that allowed us, kind of the opportunity to see things from really different perspectives, and then that allowed us to chart paths forward that were really, really helpful for the business.
Great answer. Great. Turn it over to you, Jonathan.
So when we were prepping for the show, you'd mentioned some of the stuff you'd done in acquisitions at FleetPride, and I wonder if you could just talk about really the scale that you've done with acquisitions, how it's helped the company grow, but also really what you look for as you're going forward and how you're thinking about acquisitions going forward.
Sure. So we've used acquisitions probably along two different dimensions. So entering new geographies in the U.S. has been, acquisition has been really helpful versus greenfield, and then really the service segment of our business. So actually doing repairs for our customers, both the customers that come with the acquired business and our existing customer base. So, serving their vehicles. And so I think what we've looked for there is first, so one, we're a really fragmented industry, and most of the industry is actually pretty small, independently owned businesses, and many are going through a generational transfer. And so what we've really tried to do is is create a really great experience for those people that are selling their business, where they feel like the thing that they've put like their blood, sweat, and tears into over sometimes generations will be in like good hands, and we're going to actually help it go forward. So we spend a lot of time trying to make sure that we're managing that really well, because we want to be the acquirer of choice in our space. I think we've got a dedicated team. So we've got a dedicated, and I use that word two ways. We've got a group that does nothing but M&A integration, and then they're highly dedicated to making those new businesses that join the FleetPride family successful. And so that's been really important, is having that. It's allowed us to move with pace. There's been years where, and some of this is a little bit opportunistic about, where people are in their ownership cycle. And so what I would say is, in some years we've closed more than 20 acquisitions.
Wow.
And so, having this dedicated team that effectively, our FleetPride team members that are really excited about the opportunity to help make this new business that joins our family be successful, and spends a bunch of time on the road away from their families in order to position that new business that's coming in to be a part of our family and make them successful. I can't say enough about our team members that work really hard to try and make sure those things are successful. So it's that's another element that's pretty different from my past experience, but it's really, exciting to see the camaraderie and the commitment that those team members have to making the people that join the FleetPride family successful.
So it sounds like it's not a minor aspect of the growth strategy, is what I'm hearing.
No, it's I would say, we have a few, kind of pillars to our growth story. The M&A being one. We think digital will be a huge a huge growth pillar as we go forward. And then just how do we get even better at like our core business from an organic growth standpoint? So get better at having the right product in the right place at the right time so that we can say yes. Get better at merchandising our assortment for our customers so they know all the ways that FleetPride can help them. Get better at executing from a sales engagement standpoint so we can put our team members in a position to feel like they can be really successful in front of customers. So
that actually leads into, I think, the final topic, also one that we've spoken about before. When you think about the customer experience that you're trying to create at FleetPride for your customer base, what are some of the elements of that?
I think the most important experience that we can provide is to have the product available when it's needed. Or if it's on the service side of our business, is to help them get their vehicle back on the road faster than anyone else. And so if you think about in both kind of business units, right, you're trying to go with speed. You're trying to get the product to the customer as fast as possible so that you can, really help them get their vehicle back on the road as quickly as possible. If I think about the e-commerce platform, probably like one of the most important things is beyond speed is help them find the products that they need easily. So a lot of times people will be looking for something, they don't know exactly, how to term it or what to say. And so, most of the customer research tells us that it's like, help me find what I need and help me have confidence that that's the right item for me to purchase. And so, and then for us, just like having that digital journey be omnichannel, where it's, a very large percentage of our e-commerce is someone buys online and picks up in store, or picks up at a branch, or we deliver to them. And so there's an aspect to that it's not just about enabling a digital journey. It's enabling a customer that wants to be served across any channel. Like we want to be relatively channel agnostic. If they want a pure digital and ship experience, great. If they want a digital experience picked up at store where they can touch and feel the item before they take it away, that's great. If they just want to come into a store because they didn't have time they were out on the road and we were in the right place and they came in and found what they needed, that's great too. So we want to be able to really manage all those experiences in a really thoughtful way.
That's beautiful. So it's really a hybrid journey that a lot of your customers are doing in terms of online versus offline.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
And we see that customers that use all channels are our best customers.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a consistent thing we've seen in distribution, right? And even people that don't sell a lot online, if their customers are engaging online, even if they're using it to look up invoices and get training or specifications or product data or whatever, if they're more engaged online, they buy more through all channels. And, it's just been proven over and over again. But hey, Kevin, thank you so much for joining us again. It's really been a pleasure to talk to you in your new role. And it sounds like you're doing a great job there.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Again, we've got 4,200 team members that are committed to keeping the country running, and so it's a great opportunity to be able to come out and talk with all of you and share a little bit about what that journey's been like, but also share a little bit about the story of the great work the team's doing here to help our customers move forward.
Great. Well, hang on for just a minute and I'll ask the audience to hang on too. I just want to tell you about a couple of upcoming programs that we're producing at Distribution Strategy Group. So we're going to take quite a break over the holidays, but on January 17th, we have a really interesting event. It's a wholesale chain show, but our guests are going to be executives from two major manufacturers who rely on distributors, ABB and Signify. And they're going to be talking about how distributors can become more important to manufacturers. This is a companion to a white paper that I'm writing that we'll be delivering soon. There are all these conflicting and competing ways that manufacturers can go to market, like, marketplaces and selling direct and going through retail. This is some advice from some veteran manufacturing executives on how distributors can be more important to manufacturers and earn more of their distribution channel share. Then on January 24th, Jonathan will be back to do the state of AI and distribution. We've been doing the state of shopping and buying, the state of e-commerce, state of marketing. Is this our first year or second year on this, Jonathan?
This is our first year, inaugural.
Right. So then there's nobody more qualified between his distribution experience and his, education to deliver this research-based program. So that's on January 24th. That one is brought to you by Epicor, who's a regular supporter of our program. So thank you, Epicor, for that. So hopefully you'll join us on one of those programs. But for now, or both programs actually, but for now, Kevin, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great to see you again.
Great to see you, and thanks for having me.
You bet. Happy holidays to both you gentlemen, and we'll see you in 2024. Hard to believe.
All right.
Bye, everybody. Have a great holiday.
Bye.